When viewers tuned in to the Today Show, expecting a light-hearted morning segment with wildlife conservationist Robert Irwin, they had no idea they were about to witness one of the most talked-about on-air moments of the year. What started as a routine promotional interview quickly spiraled into an uncomfortable exchange that left the studio tense, the hosts scrambling, and Robert Irwin making the unexpected decision to walk off the set. Robert Irwin, the son of legendary wildlife icon Steve Irwin, has built his own reputation over the years. Far from simply riding on his father's legacy, he has become a respected conservationist, photographer, and television personality in his own right. With his work at Australia's zoo and his dedication to wildlife preservation, he's often praised for carrying forward the Irwin family mission with humility and authenticity. That's why what happened on the Today Show shocked so many. The segment was supposed to focus on Robert's latest conservation initiatives and his growing influence among young environmental advocates. The hosts opened with friendly banter, complimenting his recent wildlife photography and joking about his comfort around crocodiles, compared to the bright lights of a television studio. At first, Robert appeared relaxed, smiling politely and answering questions with his usual enthusiasm. But the tone shifted when one of the hosts pivoted to more personal territory. What seemed like a harmless attempt to add entertainment value to the segment quickly veered into uncomfortable territory. The questions began focusing less on conservation and more on his family history, particularly the constant comparisons to his late father. At one point, the host asked whether Robert ever feels overshadowed by Steve Irwin's towering legacy. While this is not a new question for Robert, the phrasing came across to many viewers as dismissive of his independent achievements. Instead of framing it as a celebration of both father and son, it sounded like a challenge. Could he ever truly measure up? Robert handled it gracefully at first. He acknowledged his father's impact on the world and said he feels proud to continue the mission. He emphasized that conservation is bigger than any one individual and that his goal is simply to make a positive difference. The audience applauded lightly, and for a moment, it seemed the segment would recover. But the discomfort didn't stop there. The interview then shifted to tabloid rumors and speculative commentary about his personal life. The host referenced viral social media discussions and attempted to inject humor by reading out loud a few online comments comparing Robert's public persona to his father's larger-than-life energy. The tone was playful, but the underlying implication felt cutting. Robert's smile began to fade. Body language experts later noted the subtle changes. His posture stiffened, his hands clasped tightly, and his answers became shorter. He attempted to steer the conversation back to conservation efforts and wildlife protection, but the host persisted with lighter, more sensational topics. Then came the moment that many viewers described as the breaking point. The host jokingly suggested that Robert's success might rely more on nostalgia for Steve Irwin than on his own merit. The comment, though possibly intended as humor, landed heavily. There was a noticeable silence in the studio. Robert paused. He took a breath, and instead of firing back or escalating the situation, he calmly stated that his work is about protecting wildlife and honoring his family's passion, not about competing with anyone or living in someone else's shadow. His tone remained measured, but his expression revealed disappointment. When the host attempted to brush off the comment as a joke, Robert responded with quiet firmness. He said he believes conversations about conservation deserve respect, and that he hopes interviews can focus on the animals and ecosystems that urgently need attention. The tension was palpable. After a brief exchange that felt increasingly awkward, Robert thanked the audience for their time, removed his microphone, and stood up. The hosts appeared startled as he politely said he felt it was best to conclude the segment there, without raising his voice or showing anger. He walked off the set. The cameras quickly cut to a commercial break. Within minutes, social media exploded. Clips of the exchange began circulating online, with viewers debating whether the hosts had crossed a line. Many fans rallied behind Robert, praising his composure and dignity. Others argued that morning shows often blend light humor with serious topics, and that the situation may have been blown out of proportion. What made the moment resonate so deeply was Robert's reputation. He's widely known for his calm demeanor and positive energy. Unlike many public figures who respond to uncomfortable interviews with sarcasm or confrontation, Robert chose a quiet exit. For many, that decision spoke volumes. Later that day, representatives for the Today Show issued a brief statement, acknowledging the tense exchange and expressing respect for Robert's work. They emphasized that no offense was intended and that the segment was meant to be engaging and entertaining. Meanwhile, Robert posted a message on social media that further fueled conversation, without directly referencing the interview. He wrote about the importance of keeping the focus on wildlife conservation and the urgent environmental challenges facing the planet. He thanked his supporters and reiterated his commitment to honoring his father's legacy through action, not comparison. The public response was swift and passionate. #supporting Robert trended for hours. Fans shared clips of his conservation work, reminding others that his contributions stand on their own. Many pointed out that he has spent years building credibility through hands-on experience, research collaborations, and educational outreach. Some media analysts suggested that the interview highlights a broader issue in entertainment journalism: the tension between meaningful discussion and viral content. Morning shows often walk a fine line between serious conversation and attention-grabbing moments. In this case, that balance may have tipped too far toward sensationalism. Others defended the hosts, arguing that live television can be unpredictable, and that humor doesn't always translate as intended. They suggested that the exchange may have simply been a miscommunication, amplified by the pressure of being on air. Regardless of perspective, the moment underscored how deeply personal legacy can be. For Robert, comparisons to Steve Irwin are inevitable. His father remains one of the most beloved wildlife figures in history, but Robert has consistently emphasized that conservation is a team effort spanning generations. By walking off calmly, rather than engaging in a heated argument, Robert arguably reinforced his message. He demonstrated that setting boundaries can be done respectfully. In a media landscape often dominated by explosive confrontations, his quiet exit stood out. In the days following the incident, several fellow conservationists and public figures voiced support. They highlighted the need for interviews to prioritize substance over spectacle, especially when discussing critical global issues, like habitat destruction and climate change. Viewers who revisited the clip noted how the studio audience's mood shifted as the interview progressed. Early laughter gave way to uneasy silence. It was a reminder that tone matters and that humor involving personal legacy can easily misfire. For the Today Show, the moment serves as a case study in live broadcasting risks. Even seasoned hosts can misjudge the impact of a question when the guest is someone with a deeply personal and emotional connection to their work. Sensitivity becomes even more crucial. For Robert Irwin, the walk-off may ultimately strengthen his public image. Many saw it not as an overreaction but as a principled stance. He didn't storm off in anger. He chose not to participate in a conversation that felt misaligned with his mission. The larger conversation sparked by the incident touches on how we treat second-generation public figures. Do we allow them space to define themselves, or do we continually measure them against their predecessors? Robert's response suggests that he's ready to define his own narrative, on his own terms. As the viral clips continue circulating, the story remains a topic of debate across entertainment and news platforms. Some viewers hope to see Robert return to the show for a more focused discussion on conservation. Others believe his statement has already been made. In the end, the moment wasn't just about an awkward interview. It was about respect for personal legacy, for serious causes, and for the boundaries guests set when representing their life's work. Whether one sees the walk-off as dramatic or dignified, it undeniably captured attention. And perhaps that attention, redirected toward wildlife conservation, is exactly what Robert Irwin would want.